Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about insurance. Now, insurance around the world is normally a bit of a problem. It's normally pretty expensive. In the UK, it's renowned for being crazy. Now, I've known people who've paid thousands of pounds for their first year driving in cars that couldn't pull the skin off a rice pudding. Seriously, like 1 litre cars, 1.2 litre diesels, all sorts of lame stuff. Old cars, new cars, all sorts. So today I'm going to give you a few tips on how to get your insurance down as much as possible as a new driver, as a younger driver between 18 and 24, around about that age. This could apply to anyone as well, so if you are slightly older and you have just started driving, then these tips could help you out too. So insurance in the UK is just one of those necessities that you're going to need to get sorted. It's illegal not to have it, and just one of those things that protects your back if someone else crashes into you. It's one of those things you need, and you just need to get sorted. It's going to be expensive. There's no escaping. It's going to be pricey. It's going to be a few hundred quid, towards the top end of 1,000, over 1,000. My first year I paid 1,400 quid, which I consider pretty good, to be fair. That is a lot of money, but from the horror stories I've heard from people in, you know, like 1 litre courses paying 2, 3, 4,000 pounds for their first year, I think that was pretty good. So with these tips, hopefully you'll save a few hundred quid, and if you do, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your story. One of the things I'd recommend to you would be comparison websites when it comes to insurance, but don't just use one, use multiple versions of comparison websites. Say there are some examples like Money Supermarket, Compare the Market, Confused, all those websites in the UK, combine them up and see the best prices. Like I personally, not sponsored by the way, had the best prices off Money Supermarket, but I know people who had the best off Confused.com and things like that. Search around, go direct. You're gonna have to put some legwork in for this, especially if you want the best deal. It's gonna take a while, and you're gonna have to get used to the systems, because if you go in blind, then that's where the insurance companies can really screw you. So take a while, do your research, and use as many websites as you can to get the best price. One word of warning when using comparison websites is that if you keep coming back to check prices, the price can go up because it knows how many times you've checked. And this could be between, you know, 50, 100 pounds and up. Get a program like CCleaner, which I'll put in the description, and wipe your cookies, cache, history, everything from your browser every time you come back to a search. Even create a new account on the website, because like airline prices, they do go up every time you check. So keep coming back, refresh with the browser, and do fresh searches like that, because they do screw you like that. I was screwed out of about 50 quid because I didn't refresh it, so keep that in mind too. An interesting tip is that going for more unusual cars may occasionally be cheaper than your standard first car. The normal first car is something like a 1.2 litre, a 1 litre Corsa, Fiestas, Ibizas. So go for unusual engine sizes, nothing say performance end, so you can't go for a Leon Cupra or a Fiesta ST, a Focus ST RS, anything like that. Stick to the unusual but not performance engine sizes. So say 1.6 diesels, even the 2 litre categories can occasionally be cheaper. Those cars are generally bought by first car owners and can be crashed a lot. So try and go for a car that you think would be crashed less and has a better history. My car, for example, is a 1.4 Sport model, which is actually cheaper than the 1.2 litre for me to insure. So try and find an unusual engine size, something that not many first-time buyers will buy, and that can occasionally bring the price down. If it's something grannies drive, go for it, because that will be cheaper. I'll give you a good example. A Focus rather than a Fiesta, a Leon rather than an Ibiza could occasionally be cheaper if it's on a lower engine size, because that's not normally what first-time buyers go for. So a lot of people ask about black boxes when it comes to insurance, and personally my experience has been good. However, I've gone with Tesco Bank Box for the past 2 and a bit years that I've been insured, and they run under the company Insure the Box, I think. Now, not sponsored, but they've been really, really good. The price has been pretty good. However, I've heard a lot of horror stories about black boxes. It does definitely depend on the company you go with, and some really aren't lenient when it comes to speed, harshness of driving, so braking hard, cornering hard, driving at weird times, and they will penalise you massively for that. Tesco have been awesome, and they let you drive at weird times. They limit your mileage, but you pay for more mileage if you run over that. Say you go either a 6, 8 or 10,000 mile plan. I go on 6 because I really don't drive that much. And they've been fantastic. If you drive at weird hours, they don't give you more bonus miles, which is how they reward you for good driving, but they won't cancel your insurance if you do, say, drive at strange times, you know? Some black box companies, and you're gonna have to do your research on this, do really badly penalise you for doing silly stuff. Not necessarily silly stuff, but unusual stuff. Say if you drive at weird times of day, like really early in the morning, really late at night, that sort of stuff, they will send you warnings and fines. And I've heard of people having their insurance cancelled for, say, doing things like speeding, even if it's, you know, 5 mile an hour over, a 10 mile an hour over. Stuff that in the real world people do sometimes, you know? And they've had their insurance cancelled. If you have your insurance cancelled, your future insurance that you try to get will go up a shit ton. So be careful when you get a black box. Again, Insure the Box for me has been very, very good. I've had no problems. They've just been mile limited, and they've been really spot on for me. So that's something I've had a great experience with. Look around, ask your friends, ask your family, and look around for reviews on the internet as well. They'll be very, very telling. Be careful. You could either save yourself a lot of money or cost yourself a lot of money with black boxes. It does depend as well how, you know, nice of a driver you are, how gentle of a driver you are. If you're someone who never speeds, you are very smooth, and you're just, you know, very relaxed with your driving style, then yeah, sure, go for the any black box you fancy. It will save you a lot of money if you are very relaxed driving. If you drive at strange times, you do a lot of miles, and you do a lot of sort of higher speed driving, don't even touch black boxes because they will screw you over. A tip that will work with some insurance companies too is adding responsible drivers on top of your insurance. So, say if you have yourself down as the main driver, and I'm gonna push that point, have yourself as the main driver, and add, say, your mum and your dad on top of that, or a much older sibling who's been driving for a long time, that can, on certain insurance companies, bring the price down. For example, with my insurance, I put my mum and my dad on top of it, and this was as extra drivers, not as the main drivers, because that's something called fronting. If you, say, had your mum as a main driver and I was on top, that's fronting, that's illegal, and that'll get you done. For example, I added my mum and my dad on top of my insurance, so I'm the main driver and my mum and dad can drive my car on top of the insurance. That brought my price down by about 300-400 quid. So I've heard that saving people thousands too. Like someone was quoted 4 grand, they added their mum on, it brought it down to 1900 quid. So experiment with that on comparison websites. Remember to clear your browsers, cookies and cache and all that, and give it a run and see if it does bring the price down. Sometimes it won't affect it on some insurance companies, sometimes it will. So they are all slightly different. So an interesting point to make is that your job description will affect the price of your insurance by a fair amount in some cases. For example, someone who's a librarian will pay a hell of a lot less than someone who's under the category dancer or photographer, because of the risk that the insurance company set for them. Now, it's biased as hell and it depends on the company, but you will pay more for some companies. There is a website I will put here and in the description, which gives you a rough idea of how much each job title puts up and down the price. And you can go fiddle around and have fun with that. I think students have a fairly high risk to them because they're around a lot of learner drivers and younger drivers. Whereas, you know, someone like a librarian, a museum curator, something like that, will have a much lower risk because of the general statistics of them crashing being much lower. So see if you can find a different job description for yourself. Don't lie because they'll find out, but try and find a separate description for your job title. So you might have different ways of describing your job which could bring down the price, so experiment. Depending on how much cash you have to play around with, you can play around with the excess that you would have to pay whenever you have a claim. So you can set the voluntary excess on your insurance when you go onto comparison websites and when you try and find a quote. And if you start going up towards £1,000 and up, your premium will drop a hell of a lot. Keep in mind though that if you do make a claim, you will have to pay this £1,000 or more. So if you have a lot of cash to play around with, then set a higher excess. But if you set a higher excess and you know you don't have that much money to play around with if you make a claim, then you're going to be screwed. So be careful and only set however much you can pay. For me personally, my excess is around about 300 quid. That means that your premium's slightly higher, but then you don't have to pay quite as much if you want to claim. Keep in mind too that if you do make claims, even if it's not your fault, that will bump the insurance price too. I had a rear end accident a while back that wasn't my fault, and that bumped my insurance cost by about 50 to 100 quid every time I renew it for the next 3 or 4 years. So be careful out there and stay safe. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching the video today. If you have any more tips for everyone, drop them in the comments and let me know what sort of tips you would like to see from me in the future and if you've been enjoying the videos. Drive safe and I will see you in the next video. Have a great one.